Welcome back to another episode of 100 Apps, 100 Hours, where we build some of your favorite apps or try to rebuild some of your favorite apps in 1 hour or less, or get publicly humiliated trying. All right, I'm super excited to be back for another season. If you are new to 100 Apps, 100 Hours, there are two basic rules. Number one, you have 60 minutes to build and plan and build, no more, no less. So when that clock strikes zero, that's it. And then the second rule is there are no other rules. Use whatever you have at your disposal to complete the functionality. That's it. Let's dive into this episode. So today I've got a custom CRM. Tools like Salesforce, Pipedrive, HubSpot, they really need no introduction. Everybody needs a CRM. A lot of them, depending on your purposes, may be way too much for what you need, or they may not be specific enough for your industry. So we are going to build our own custom CRM in 1 hour or less. Let's do it, baby. All right, so let's start the clock, and away we go. So when we plan our CRM, what do we need out of a CRM, right? What kind of functionality do we want to see inside our CRM? So basically, we want to manage all of our contacts. We want to manage all the different organizations those contacts belong to. What else? We want to manage our sales pipeline. Manage sales pipeline. That's going to be deals or activities. We want to be able to track activities and follow up. So this seems like a pretty good set of functionality for a basic CRM. I'm sure we might embellish this a little bit depending on how far we get, but let's dive into actually fleshing out what the data model just might look like for something like this. So we'll drag a nice square up here. We're going to have contacts. We could just call those people. I'm a big fan of that. We're going to have organizations. There's definitely going to be a relationship between those two. But I feel like this could be a many-to-many relationship because one contact could belong to multiple organizations. And some CRMs make that a little more difficult to do than others. What else do we have? We're going to have deals or opportunities. Deals is kind of a standard nomenclature. We're going to have activities that are attached to what? Those are attached to organizations. They're attached to contacts. They're probably also going to be attached to deals. What else are we going to have? We're probably going to have some sales reps. Those are going to be our users inside our account. This looks pretty good for a base set of functionality. Let's dive in and actually start building something. So I'm just going to pull up my Directus instance. That's what we're using on the back end. Totally blank instance. We'll zoom in on this. And let's start building, right? Let's create our first collection. Let's start with contacts. So we're going to give this a contacts as the name. For the primary key, let's use generated UUID. What kind of fields do we want to add for our contacts, right? When we think of contacts, we're going to need name, email, but we may also want to track when this was updated, when it was created. Directus makes that super easy. And one tip that you may not have realized if you've used Directus before is I can go in and change these to be whatever I want. So if I wanted this to be created at and created by, I could go in and update those, change them to be whatever I want. Updated at, updated by, if that's the nomenclature that you're used to. Do we actually need a sort for our contacts? I don't think. Let's just go ahead and save this. All right, so for our contacts, we're going to add a first name. Great, we'll make that a string. Let's do half width for that. I can go in and click the three little dots here and just quickly duplicate this field to save myself some time. And of course, as I am plotting away on this, Directus underneath is mirroring all these changes to my database schema. So we've got our first name, we've got our last name. We're going to need an email or an email. Great. Let's require this value. And I could even go as far as like making this unique if I wanted to have some type of unique identifier to match these up with. All right, as far as an interface, I could get fancy with this and we could add a little email icon, like an @ symbol. That's great. I think everything else is good. One of the other nice things that's built into Directus is I can go in and add my own custom regex validation. So, I could put in some type of regex that matches email addresses. I don't have one of those handy here, but we'll go ahead and keep marching along here. So we got first name, we got last name, we got email. We'll probably have a phone number at some point, but let's go for like a job title, probably. I'm trying to think of all the standard fields. Maybe we have some notes. We could set that to be a text area field. I don't really need formatting for those. Great. Job title. And maybe, honestly, let's strip this out because I'm thinking about that many-to-many relationship with organizations. And we may have different titles in different organizations. So I'll show you how we can handle that coming up. All right, so we've got first name, we've got email. We could go ahead and add phone number as a string. Phone or phone number. Let's just keep it short. We'll say phone. Let's give it a phone icon. Great. Okay. Phone, email. We'll put email above phone. Cool. Looks nice. All right. Let's just take a look, right? We've got first name. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to add my wife here, but she's going to get mad at me if I misspell it, right? Ashley at example.com. Add a phone number, 5555555. Here's some nice notes for our contact. Things are looking great, right? We've got our contact in here. I could potentially sort and filter this 100 different ways, maybe change the layout. But let's dive into the next collection that we want to set up, our organizations. So we'll have organizations. Again, for the primary key, I'm going to use ID and just use generated UUID as the type. And again, I can change created at. I could change this structure for these system fields to be whatever I want. Created by, date updated. That's going to be updated at, if I can actually spell. And we'll use this one as well and call it updated by. Great. Okay, so now we've got an organization. For our organization, what are we going to have? We're going to have a name of the organization, right? Probably some addresses for that organization, right? We could have multiple. So that's where we might reach into another bag of just a different table. What else are we going to have for an organization? Let's just do something like country in case we want to like automatically route new organizations to a specific sales rep. Potentially, we've got a name. What are we going to have? We're going to have a website. We may have a logo if we want to track that for a company. So let's do an image file. Let's call it logo. You might even add things like brand color, things like that if you're really interested in tracking that. And then we'll just add another section for notes. This is going to be a text area field with the type text, and we'll hit save. So we've got our organizations, we've got our contacts. Let's make a link between the two, right? So how do we go about that? It depends on how you want the data to actually be structured, right? In an application, depending on the setup, maybe a user can only belong to one specific organization. But often inside a CRM, and maybe I am working with the local Little League. I am a member of the board there, and then I'm also a developer advocate here at Directus, or a founder at Better Sign Shop. So a lot of different relationships that is going to be modeled with the many-to-many relationship inside Directus. Here's how we set that up. It's going to be pretty easy. We'll just go to create field. We'll look for a many-to-many relationship, and because we're on organizations, our key here is going to be contact or contacts, I should say. Our related collection is going to be contacts. And then we'll just go through and paint by numbers here. Do we want to show these in a list or a table? I'm good either way. We definitely want to show a link to that item so we can get to that specific contact. But I'm going to pop open this advanced field creation mode just to show you that you do have control over the naming of the junction collection and the individual fields within that. So the default setup here is just going to take this table name and this table name, or this collection name and this collection name, and marry the two together, and we end up with organizations underscore contacts. Works for me. We'll leave that autofill set up. And then on the reverse, I'm going to add that many-to-many field to the contacts as well. We're going to keep that as the organizations, right? In this case, we may have a sort field. So we want to control the sorting for contacts, like who's first, second, third. That could be helpful in like a primary contact situation. And then we have some of our relational triggers, right? On deselect of organizations contacts, what do we want to do here? Maybe I want to delete that association. So I'll set these to cascade. Great. So now if I back out, we can see we've got our contacts field here. If we go into, looks like we've got an extra contact table created. I might have typed something wrong, but so we can see contacts there in the organizations. And then on our contact, I should see organizations here. Let's just add an organization, right? So let's say my wife worked at Tesla. That's in the United States. And, we could add the website, logo, notes. I could choose existing contacts, but I'm just going to go ahead and save one, right? So now I could see I've got that organization here, but it's showing an ID, which is not super helpful, right? So I can go into the organization itself and control the display template where I have a name. I could even potentially add the logo to that if I wanted. So now if we check it again, we can see, okay, here's the organizations that they're a part of, right? Now, you also have the ability to manage the data inside that junction collection, right? So if I go in and like I said, I may have a different job title at all these different organizations. So I could go in and add a new field here inside this junction collection for job title. Great. All right, so now if we go into Tesla, we can see the job title is down here at the bottom, but Directus also gives me an easy way to control where that displays. So if I go to our many-to-many relationship inside our contacts, I can go to, maybe we want to add a sort field for this just to make sure. And then if I go to the interface, I can control where my junction fields are located. So I can put this at the top, which should be great. Okay, so now if we just check that out one more time. All right, now I can see director of Directus. So now I could give a specific job title to this specific person within that organization. I could go in and add a new organization as well, like the Little League. We could say a board member, right? Little League Baseball is the name of the organization. Great. Okay, so now my wife is a part of 2 organizations, different job titles for each, right? All right. How are we looking on time? We're looking great. Let's move on to our next collection that we want to set up. That's going to be what? Our deals, our activities. What do we want to set up next? Let's go for deals or opportunities, right? Deals is probably the standard naming for this. So that's what we'll stick with. Could be opportunities, could be something else. That's fine. We'll do created at just to keep the same structure. We'll do created by. And by adding these, whenever this record is created, it's going to populate a timestamp and a user. The same thing for updated. Whenever it gets updated or who updates it, it's going to populate that info for us. Updated by. Great. Okay, so our deals, what are we going to have for our deal? We'll probably have a name or a title of the deal. Deal name. Sounds great. It can be good to prefix some of these sometimes if you're dealing with a lot of nested relational data. So you get used to seeing name in there 100 times. It could be confusing whether that's the actual deal name or the organization name or the contact name. So we'll just save the deal name. What else are we going to have on this deal, right? We'll probably have a average dollar amount or a potential dollar amount. Let's set that to be decimal. Deal value. We can add a nice little dollar sign to the icon to make this look nice and pretty. And then we are going to have some related fields. But before we do that, let's just add like some deal notes or something like that. Sounds great. Okay, so we've got a deal name, we got a deal value. Maybe these are side by side, not a big deal. Let's go in, and now we want to add a relationship to the organization and probably to our primary contact for this deal. So those are both going to be many to one relationships. And we'll set a key of organization here. So the related collection, we'll set that to be organizations. Great. And I could control the display template here. We'll just use the name and we hit save. So now we've got an organization that we're going to tie to the deal. I'll make that half width. And then we also want to add a primary contact. So we'll just say primary contact. The related collection here is going to be the contacts collection. And for the display template, let's use first name, last name, and let's use this format, which I think is typically how it displays inside an email client, where you have the email address inside these less than or greater than SQL or symbols. So let's save that. We've got our primary contact, we've got our notes, we've got our deal. What do we need next, right? We need to track where that deal is at. So we could use like a status field as like a drop down for that potentially, right? What's the status of this particular deal? Blah, blah, blah. Or we could do something else where we have a relationship to a deal stage or our individual pipeline, right? Because then we may want to potentially have separate pipelines, or we want to give more control back to our users. So the sales reps or the sales manager to control that actual pipeline without getting into the admin section. So how can we do that, right? Looks like I've got a little extra couple of fields that I've been creating here inadvertently. All right, so now let's add a new collection. Let's just call it deal stages, right? We want to manage what are the stages of a particular deal. As far as the optional fields, maybe not super concerned with these. Deal stages. We're going to call this the name of this particular stage. Maybe we want to give it a color. So we gotta add some color to it. And, I guess we could even give it an icon if we wanted to. We can play around with that and see what that looks like. Deal stages. Let's make both of those half width. And now let's just go through and map some of these particular stages, right? I've got this S on here. One of the other things that you could do inside Directus, you can control the translations for all of these. So even if you're working in English, on the back end, you may want to use prefix tables to keep things nice and organized as a developer. This is a great way to control what displays via the interface to your actual users within the application. So I could just call this deal stages or pipeline stages, whatever makes a lot of sense here, and hit save. Right, so it still shows me deals _ stages here, but when I start looking inside the actual app, there we go, we can see our pipeline stages. So let's create our first one, right? Let's just say new, this is inbound. Do we have a symbol? We do have a symbol for this, right? So let's say red, we need to take action on this. What's next, right? Qualified, maybe, contacted, or let's say assigned, right? We forgot to assign those to a sales rep. Assignment, that's a nice looking icon for that. Then we'll say qualified. If we're doing software sales, like a check mark. Okay. What else? Demo. Let's save green. Oh, let's make this orange. Do we have like a demo? Maybe a TV? What do we got? Yeah, there we go. That works for a demo as far as the icons. And then we are going to set like a last stage, like proposal. Great. Let's just go gray. Cool. Document. Awesome. All right, so I can control the way that these are displayed through my actual settings here. So I can go into each specific one, and on the display tab, let's display a colored dot for the color, and then for the icon, we're just going to display the actual icon. Right? Great. If we take a look now, I can see what these actually look like. Cool. And then for my display template for the deal stages, I may even go in and just mirror that same structure where I have a color, then I have an icon with a name. Okay, so now what we've done, we've effectively given control over these, and we probably actually need a sort on these as well so we can control that value. So let's go in and quickly add a sort. That's going to be an integer value. And because this is coming after the fact, after we've created this actual table, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit, and I will have a sort field here. So we'll choose sort just to make sure we manage that. And now I should be able to drag and drop these in whatever order that I like. Again, we're giving control back to the users of our custom CRM. We're definitely going to prevent them from getting inside the admin so they don't mess with the data model. But here we give them the ability to control what those pipeline stages are going to be. So now we need to add those to our actual deals, right? So we're going to go into our deals. We're going to create a many-to-one relationship. And, this is going to be the deal stage or just stage. And we're going to use deals _ stages as the related collection. We could open this up and just see what's going on. I don't really need to create that inverse relationship. I could. Doesn't make a ton of sense though, I'm not sure. All right, display related values, validation. Let's keep it very simple. And then we're going to use our deal stage. All right, so now if I go into our deals, Why is this? Ghost in the machine. I don't know what's going on this particular example, but it keeps creating additional fields that we don't need. All right, so let's create a new deal, right? This is going to be a new deal. We can see, hey, there's our stage. That looks great. The deal name is 100 apps, 100 hours, contract. It's worth $1 million. So we'll add that. How many zeros do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Let's make this for the Little League team. Great. My wife is the primary contact. Here's some notes on this deal. Great. Did we save it? Numeric value and deals is out of range. That wouldn't be 100 apps, 100 hours without some type of issue, right? So let's take a look at this. The deal value, what did I set? Precision and scale. Maybe we bump this up way up. Probably could have gone with integers for this as well. Do I have a minimum and a maximum? I don't have that set. So not entirely sure what's going on. Let's just try this again. 100 apps, 100 hours, contract, 100,000, 1 million. Try it again. Save. Okay. All right. So now we've got this particular deal set up. This is kind of an underwhelming view, right? And again, I might control how these things display. So if I just go into our deals, we go to the deal stage. If I want to control how it displays, I can go in and set this. So let's do the color, do the icon, do the name. Just because I'm a very visual person, and I suspect a lot of your end users may be as well. We still don't see the organization there, so again, we'll go back. We'll adjust our organization. We want to display related values. We want to show the name of that specific organization, and let's get even fancier. And maybe we want to show that logo. I'm going to click on this, and then you'll see this one that has a little magic beside it that's a thumbnail. That's just a shortcut for like a nice thumbnail-sized image instead of loading the actual image size. So I don't have a logo for this company, but I could quickly find one. All right, so we'll just copy this image address. Go back to our instance. Let's load up that specific company. They who shall not be named. We hit import. Oh, that's a data URL. Let's find an actual URL that we just copy. Great. Let's try this again. We can import via URL. Cool. And now when I'm looking at my deals, I can see the logo of that organization. That makes it really handy when I'm working on a deal, just to have that extra visual reinforcement. Now, when I'm looking at deals, I may want to set up like a traditional pipeline type of view. So I could do that really easily just by switching the layout here inside Directus. So we'll change this to a Kanban layout. Let's group by the deal stage, and the group title is going to be the name. So I can see new assigned qualified demo. We have that Kanban view that we're used to. As far as the text, what do we want to look at? We want to control, let's say when this was created. I'm not really concerned about that. The tags, what do we want to set that to be? Do we want a card image? Honestly, this looks okay. Do we need an actual user on here? Probably not. Cool. All right, we'll just keep it as is. And let's start fleshing this out a little more as well, right? So within a deal, when I'm working this deal, we're going to have activities assigned to this as it moves across the pipeline. And for that, let's just go in and add a new table, a new collection. We're going to call it activities. Activities, I think that's the correct spelling. We use generated UID. Do created at, created by, updated at, updated by. Great. And in this case, maybe we do give a status for this particular activity, right? Status, great. Let's give a name of the activity, probably a type of activity. Makes sense. We use a drop down for that. It seems pretty straightforward, or maybe they're not going to need to change the activity types on a very frequent basis. So we'll call it the activity type. And let's add a couple choices to this. So this is a relatively new addition to Directus within the drop down, the ability to have an icon and a color. So let's say text is a phone call, value is a phone. One of the other cool things, if you want to translate this value, you could use this phone T or this $T for a translatable string. And then anytime you have users who are using the app within a different language, inside the settings, you can control all those custom translations. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Let's call this phone call. The value could just be phone call, depending on how I want to store this, right? It may have an underscore within it as well. It could just be the same thing. Either way. Look for that phone. Great. And I could even add a color for that if needed. Maybe I just want to keep these all the same. Phone call, we'll call it a meeting. And for this, do we have a meeting icon, right? Calendar looks nice. Maybe we want to track demos separate from meetings, right? So we track a demo. That was the TV icon that we had. Great. What else are we going to need? Like an email? Not sure I would. Maybe like a follow-up email. We want to reschedule that. And then we'll do an email. Great. Demo, phone call. Maybe I'm going to set this to be underscore value. Cool. All right. Looking good. Looking good. Activity type. Okay. What else are we going to need for this, right? We need a due date for this activity. And the status we can use as is. It's published, draft, archived. What do I really care about this activity? Probably is it completed or not, right? So maybe we scrap status and maybe we just go for a toggle instead, right? Hey, is this completed? The default value, great. For our label, maybe we change it to completed and give it a color of color on. Color off is red, just to show that it has not been completed. Great. And let's just clean up this form a little bit, making sure everything looks nice. Okay. We are going to add a date for this. And let's set a specific date and time that this thing occurred. Call it due date, end date. Due date seems reasonable. But when do we actually need to complete this specific task? Okay, so now we've got an activity. We want to link this to our actual deals so we can track those, right? So What I'm going to do in this case is create a many to one relationship, because this activity could only belong to a single deal, right? We're going to use the key of deal, the related collection. We'll set that to deals. We'll show the name of that deal. Maybe we show the actual organization as well, so I can actually dig into the related collections and show values from that. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. Cool. All right, so now what I forgot to do is create that inverse relationship. You can actually set that up via Directus when you're creating that relationship. But now I can also just go into our deals. Not deal. We'll go into our deals. And now we're going to create a one-to-many relationship back to those activities. So we'll call this the key of activities. We've got activities. The foreign key will be deal. That already exists. Maybe we want to show these in a table. We'll choose the columns, due date, name, due date, activity type. Seems pretty savvy. And I can even filter these, right? So if I wanted to see just activities where they were not completed, we can enable search and filtering and show a link to these. We'll take a look at what all these look like in just a moment. But we've forgotten one important step through this whole process is, hey, we need somebody to assign these deals to, right? So let's add a many to one relationship. We'll call that the deal owner, or you potentially say who this is assigned to. I think the deal owner is, again, kind of standard naming in these scenarios. And for the related collection here, we're going to use Directus _ users. So these are going to be actual users of the application that we're assigning this to. Invalid payload collections can't start with Directus users. Deal owner. Let's go to our related collection and we'll just get Directus _ users. And in this case, we're going to show the first name, last name. We may back up and do an avatar as well. So we'll just the thumbnail, the avatar. I could move these around just by using edit raw value. You'll see these are just the standard mustache syntax that you see throughout Directus as well. Excuse me. Let me get just a drink of water. I'm actually dying. That's a turn of fate. Okay. All right, so we're going to save this. Deal owner already exists in deals. Okay. All right, great. Let's move this around. Maybe we make deal stage half width. We slide deal owner up there. Let's actually take a look at this now. I should be able to assign folks. So let's create a new user. We'll just call it sales rep. Sales rep at example.com. And maybe we give them a nice avatar, right? Sales rep avatar. Let's just see what Google comes back with. John's inside sales rep. Yeah, this is perfect. This is my guy right here. All right, there's his avatar. We'll just save that. And now we can see who we've assigned this particular deal to. And now maybe within the deal card user here, I want to show who that deal owner is. Great, Mr. Sales Rep. Looking good. All right, one of the other things that we need to do on our activities, we probably got an owner of that activity or an assigned to. It's been assigned to somebody on the team. Again, that's going to be assigned to a Directus user. We'll save that. And lots going on here. Just some type of weird glitch. I can see a couple of extra collections. I'll just remove these. All right, cool. So now we've got a deal. We've got a table full of activities. I can go in and add these, like follow up on proposal. This is assigned to Mr. Sales Rep. We've got the activity type. We can see that's going to be just a quick phone call. Is this completed? We can see that conditional formatting for that. And we can add a due date of, let's say, next Friday. Great. Save that. Keep editing. Cool. All right. So now we've got the basic inner workings of a CRM, right? We've got our deals, we've got contacts, we've got organizations, we've got our different pipeline stages, right? If I wanted to organize these things a bit, we could go in and add different icons for each of these. So, maybe we set some people icons for our contacts. We've got our organizations. Do we have an organization option? Let's look and see. Business. Is there a business? There we go. That looks somewhat like a business. We've got activities. Maybe this will be like a checklist. Cool. We've got our deals. Let's make those the money. Dollar signs. That's great. And then deal stages. To me, this is like a settings, right? So I could create a new folder. Let's just call it settings folder. Don't necessarily have to add this. Maybe we just do to keep it clean. And we look for like a settings icon just to use here. That's great. This one looks magical. Settings suggest, right? And again, I can change the name of this to just say settings. So it still creates this collection, but we could call it whatever we want. So we'll drag this up within settings folder. We'll drag deal stages, and this will be like the Kanban view. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So now we get a little more organization to this. One of the other things that you might do, and that you use all the time within ACRM, are saved views, right? So Directus gives you that ability with bookmarks. We'll just go in to the top here, and maybe I want to sort by a specific sales rep, right? Like the deal owner is a specific person, a specific name is sales rep. That's the only one at this point. But I could go in and create a bookmark for this, and we could call it deals sales rep man. And we can change this up, give it a color. Now within that collection, now we can see we've got our deals for sales rep man. And I could save that bookmark. So even if I go into the main deals view, and maybe we change this back to a table view, which could be easier for maybe a sales manager or something who's controlling this. Let's add deal owner back to this as well. Now if I go back, deal sales rep man view, boom, there it is. It's saved. I could go in and update this if I wanted to as well. So now we've got our pipeline. When we go into each one of the deal, we have our name, we've got our organization, we've got the notes, we've got our activities. We can mark these activities off as completed. That seems like a great CRM baseline. Let's take a look at where we're at, right? We got like 16 minutes on the clock. This feels like a win. I don't know if we want to run that one. Let's discuss where we could go from here, right? Maybe we want to automatically send some emails when it hits a certain stage in the pipeline. So let's just call these things done, right? We can manage all of our contacts. We can manage all of our organizations. We can manage our sales pipelines. We can track our activities and follow up. So let's say, we get a new deal inbound. Maybe we want to automatically assign that to a particular person, or we want to send a notification to our sales rep when that assignment happens. Let's figure out how to do that, right? So I'm going to go in, let's just create a new deal. We'll say, actually, let's wait a moment. Let's go into our flows. This is a good example, right? Whenever a new deal comes inbound, we want to send an email notification to our sales rep to let them know. All right, so we're going to create a new flow. We'll just call it new inbound deal. Pretty straightforward. We can change this to the new symbol if we want to, and just do a trigger setup. So what are we going to choose here? Directus gives you a ton of different options as far as what to use when you're creating a flow. In this case, we're going to use the event hook. So when a certain event happens inside the platform, we want to trigger an automation. The type that we're going to choose here is action non-blocking, because we don't, the filter allows you to basically either adjust the payload when a new deal gets created or a new event happens. Action non-blocking, again, that runs after a create or update action. So in this case, let's do the items.create. Whenever we're going to trigger this based on the deals collection. And cool. All right, so now I'm just going to save this, right? I'm going to go in and let's create a new deal inside the system. It's in the new stage. We're going to assign this to Mr. Sales Rep. New deal automation. Maybe we add, let's set this one to be for the Little League. Again, we choose a specific contact, add some notes, and maybe the deal value, we'll just ballpark it at $5,000. Great. If I go back, now I can see that in my logs, I've got this flow. Here's the payload of this particular flow. And we can see who the deal owner is on this particular deal. How do we send an email notification to that specific owner, right? I'm just going to take this, copy it. I'm going to open up just my VS Code editor where I've got my 100 apps, just Docker Compose file here set up to run this locally. I'm just going to save that in case I need it. And next, let's flesh this out a little bit, right? So you can see the data we're getting back here. We're probably going to need to look up that specific user. We can find them there. Those are the deal owner. We could send them a notification inside the app, or we could send them a notification via email, right? There's two options there. We've got notification. In this case, we've got the UUID of the user that we're going to send that to. So, potentially want to send that in-app. In this case, if there's a new deal, they're probably going to be in their inbox. We're going to send that new deal to them. But let's actually find that email address first, though, right? So we're going to read data from a specific collection. Let's call it find user is the actual step we're going to do here. For the permissions, let's just give full access. And for the collection, you can see I don't have the Directus users collection here, but I can go in and edit my raw value and just use Directus _ users. And for our IDs, right, what are we going to put here? So if I open this back up, we're going to use the trigger.payload.deal owner. So we'll do this, we'll do trigger.payload.deal_owner. And I'm going to wrap this in mustache syntax. And let's try this again. So we'll read the user. Let's go ahead and maybe just add this send email as well. So we'll send the email, and this is going to be the read underscore user. We're using the key that we set of the previous operation within that flow. Read underscore user dot email should be. We'll input that. New deal assigned to you. And hey, read underscore user dot first name. We've assigned a new deal to you. And then I could even go through and add those different variables if I wanted to for things like the deal name or the deal ID and add a link back to that. So let's just try trigger.payload.deal underscore name. Great. We'll save it. And now let's just test this out. I'm not actually sure if I've got emails set up here locally on this particular instance though, so that could be fun. But we should be able to actually see if this runs. In light of that bit of news, because just looking at my configuration here, I do not have email configured here locally. So let's let's detach that one, and let's just test the notifications. Send notification. Cool. Send notification. The find underscore user dot ID. Cool. Full access, and it was a new deal assigned. We'll just add the key here, so that'll be trigger.payload. Or no, actually it may be something like this where we have key. All right, let's just take a look just to make sure. Right, within our payload we can see the key there. That's good. In that case we probably didn't need to get the actual user there, but that's okay. I'm just going to copy this message that we set here, just paste that, and let's take a look at where this gets us. All right, so we got a new inbound deal. We're going to read the data of the user that we've assigned that to, and we're going to send a notification to that specific person. All right, now we've got a new deal stage. Let's just set it to new deal owner. I'm going to choose myself here so we can test this notification. We'll say deal name, test deal. It's worth $6 million. Very nice deal. We got a primary contact. Here's some notes. We'll just save that. And let's see what happens, right? If we go to our flow, we got a new inbound deal. We can see our logs. Send notification. Recipient is so-and-so. Hey, undefined, we've sent you a new test deal. Underscore first name. Why did that not come back? Read underscore. Oh, that's why I used the wrong key. Sometimes that happens. Hey, find user dot first name. Great. So now if I look and I check my activity log, I can see that I've got this new deal assigned. Here's the notification for that. And if I click on it where it says view content, it should take me to that specific test deal. Great. Awesome. Let's call that a win, right? We've got our custom CRM built out. We've set up some automation for this. We could go further and flesh this out a ton of different ways, right? If we talk about it, like we could go through and send emails to our actual primary contact when it reaches a certain stage. That would be fairly easy to do using Directus flows. We could maybe even go as far as like a future iteration of this could be setting up an inbox to parse incoming emails, like a BCC functionality, and add these to those specific deals as well. But this feels really good. I'm calling this a win. That's our custom CRM. Thanks for joining me on this episode of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. We'll catch you on the next one.